Hello, writers and crafters. I'm Valerie Ihsan.
And I'm Erick Mertz.
And this is episode 77 of the podcast, and it is July 27th, 2022, as we record this. Our main topic is Erick Mertz Part 2.
The sequel.
We are going to be doing a follow-up session to the coaching that we did a couple weeks ago. 3 weeks ago now, I think. So we have 2 new patrons this week. Thank you.
That's awesome.
We totally appreciate you. A big shout out and personal thanks to, I'm going to butcher this last name. Sorry, BARB LACHENBRUCH.
I think you got it.
Lachenbruch and Mary Van Everbroeck. So thank you to Mary and Barb. I'm so happy that you've joined our little crew over at Patreon. The podcast is sponsored by our patrons at patreon.com/Valerie Ihsan. Ihsan. Everybody knows how to spell Valerie. It's just the Ihsan I need to do. So what are you reading?
Well, wait, people don't misspell your name ever? You don't they get it right most of the time?
I mean, like the most egregious, I mean, it wasn't even egregious, but the most like off the actual spelling I ever had was someone put Mallory, Mollory.
You're just somebody else to them.
Just totally somebody else.
My name's always misspelled. That's why I ask. I mean, that's what I get for having the CK. So
yeah.
What am I reading? I am reading. I finished a book in the 2 weeks that we had. Something called The Bone Mother by David Damchuk, which was kind of some folky horror. It was really good if anybody likes that kind of stuff. It was not horror in like it was not very traditional horror. It was just very, kind of atmospheric Eastern European folk horror. Really great. But I'm reading Grave Peril, which is the third book by Jim Butcher. It's the third book in the Dresden Files series, which I read the first 2 about 5 years ago and didn't get much past it. And so I started that. And it's great. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I should write this down here. What did you say? I wasn't even taking notes. The Greatest Peril? What would you say?
Grave Peril.
Grave Peril. Okay.
And I'm doing the thing now where I get the book on Audible, and I have the paperback, and I will just kind of bounce between them as I, if I'm at the gym or I'm working around the house, I'll listen to the book. Yeah. The performance on the audiobook is really fantastic. It's a performance. So if you like audiobooks, that's one for you.
Jim Butcher.
What are you working on?
I'm still doing J.D. Barker's The Sixth Wicked Child, and I'm so pleased with. I mean, it is about a serial killer. And it's a police procedural, whatever. Like, I don't know if you consider it a police procedural, but it's definitely got detectives and FBI agents and stuff like that in it. And I never thought that was going to be my jam. And it's, not. I wouldn't reach first for that, but it's funny and, engaging, and the pacing's great. And so I'm pleasantly surprised. And it's clearly like a trilogy, like I feel like this is going to be the end of this is the third book, and it feels like that's the end, although I'm not at the end yet. So maybe there will be a cliffhanger and an opportunity to extend, but I don't know.
Good. That trilogy, that third book in the trilogy feel, it has a certain feel. You can definitely sense when an author is trying to wrap up and get to that place of completion. So
cool.
Did you read the first 2 in the series?
Well, I read the second one. The first one, I actually didn't read. But I read, the synopsis. You can go on and, like on IMDb, whatever. Like for movies, you can go in and like read the synopses of shows or movies or whatever. So I've read like a 3 or 4 page synopsis on the first book. And now that I've read the second one and like know the characters, then I can easily extrapolate the first
where
book.
it came from.
Yeah. I have a quick announcement.
Ooh.
After my writing retreat that I'm hosting in Marcola, Oregon, in actually it's 2 weeks from now. Blah. We're sold out of tickets, but after the retreat, all of the instructors are going to Tsunami Books Sunday, August 14th at 4 p.m. to do a reading. So it'll be like an Oregon's Best kind of author event featuring Joe Wilkins, Dante Zuniga-West, me, and some other writers from a local group called the Stonecutters Union. So yeah, that'll happen. Tsunami Books, August 14th, 4 p.m.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Tsunami Books is awesome, as you know.
Yeah. It's a good venue. I really like
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
and I feel really like safe there, like in terms of pandemic too. They always keep the doors open and the fans running, and they've got those like NASA approved air scrubbers and stuff like
Right. Right.
that. The staff always wears masks, and masks are encouraged, but of course we can't like enforce it anymore.
Right. Right.
All right. Well,
Wow. I'm the subject here, so
you're the
better strap
subject
in.
here. Strap in. Before you do that, I want to know how you liked Project Hail Mary.
Oh, did I not? Oh, no
I liked it so much.
spoilers.
Ali actually read it too. He finished it. He just zoomed right through it. He really liked it also.
I loved the ending. I thought that ending was so
Right?
satisfying.
No spoilers, but
No
totally
spoilers.
you should read it.
Such a satisfying ending. Not unexpected, not expected. It was just, I mean, like the whole book was full of these little, just sort of mini twists. There were so many
Mm-hmm.
mini twists that what I thought was interesting. Okay, I'm going to make sure I do this without spoilers. The book was full of mini twists, but when at the end I didn't expect I didn't expect anything.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were at the downslope, and then it turns out like the biggest twist of all comes, and I was like, I thought that was really great writing that I didn't
Yeah.
see that. And funny, I was at a pool like 2 days after finishing it, and there was someone reading The Martian on
Mm-hmm.
at the pool, and I said, "Oh, make sure you read the next one." And like it just their reaction was like, "What?" Like I'm sure that nobody comments on people's books at the public pool, but that was me. I was that guy. And I've been telling people about it since. It's probably the word of mouth book for me. Like I want
Yeah.
people to.
I'm so
It's
happy I read it. Yeah.
yeah,
I was like
yeah.
a
And I think it
year
would have
late, but
right, and I think it would have sat on my shelf had you not, because my mom got it for me just random. She'll get me.
mm-hmm.
She works at a bookstore. She'll just randomly bring me
Mm-hmm.
10 books, and which is, I make that sound like it's a problem. It's a fun problem to have. I love it. But she just brought it to me, and I had no inclination to read it until you said it. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right, I
Okay.
have
Okay.
some follow-up questions for you. First,
Okay.
I'd like to start my follow-ups with wins. So, what did you get accomplished in the last 3 weeks since we spoke? It doesn't have to directly relate to what, we talked about, but it can just be, like I want to celebrate with you. What did you get accomplished in the last 3 weeks?
Okay. Well, after our converse, I have been working on a sort of giveaway short story, mailing list short story for um, to put out in advance of Chasing Shadows, which comes out in 3 weeks. Um, I I was really struggling with the cover. I mean, I had the book done, I had it ready to go, but I was struggling with the cover. I'd worked with a designer for
Wait, are you talking about Chasing Shadows or the short story?
yeah, sorry, the short story prequel. Um, and I just was working with this designer who wasn't giving me
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted. And I won't go into all the details, but as a like what I gave very specific instructions, wasn't getting them. So I was at this place where I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, do I just say I'm sorry, this isn't working, or do I keep pushing and pushing and pushing? And finally, I said, look, this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went in and designed the cover myself, which nobody is supposed to ever do. Um, I don't think I did a terrible cover. It's not the one I'd put it up on Amazon with. It's the one. It's perfect for me to give it away to people on my mailing list.
Hmm.
I see a lot of people who give away a book and it's just a PDF or something. But I want a cover. I like it makes it feel complete to me.
Hmm.
And so I felt really good about just saying this isn't working. And then I went and made my own cover and put it out. And yeah, I mean that was felt like a big win because it's not something I tend to like labor in those issues for a while.
Hmm.
I tend to want to give the other person kind of a chance to figure out how to please me. And I just at this point, I just knew I wasn't going to get what I wanted out of this, and so I tossed it. And he wasn't upset, and I think he was kind of done looking for
Yeah.
things. So there's that. That was a big win, and then I had been so my series is sequential, right? It's chronological, and I've got like this chronological main mystery. Each book is a mystery inside of a bigger mystery, and I have the bigger mystery plotted out. But I wanted to do what I think of as like a bottle book, and like in TV, there's episodes of shows that exist kind of outside of the world, like everybody goes on vacation. Remember those when you
Oh,
watch a show.
spin-offs. Hmm.
Yeah, like little like one episodes where they spend zero time in the main setting and they're just doing something different.
Hmm.
Um, I
Brady
always think of
Bunch
that.
goes to the beach or whatever.
Right, yeah. So they're called bottle episodes in TV.
Okay.
If you're a TV writer, it's a bottle episode. The most famous right now is the one from Breaking Bad, which is called The Fly. Um,
Okay.
and I wanted to do a bottle book, like one that takes place out. It involved August Melville, sheriff, but it was outside of Canyon County. Like it just was him out in the world.
Hmm.
And so I sat down. Actually, I got this inspiration when I was sitting in a bar and I heard some people. They were in from town on a convention, and I thought, oh, what if Sheriff Melville goes to like a law enforcement convention, and then knowing what he knows. And so I sat down here in one day, like I think it was 4.5 hours. I just plotted out an entire, and it just came. I'm like, I knew, like somewhere in my subconscious, I had this book already formed, and I just needed
Nice.
like something to kind of break the dam. So I plotted a book. I don't know when I'm gonna write it, how it's gonna fit into the sequence, but I
Hmm.
definitely now have a book. Starts where he's getting on a plane, and it ends when he gets picked up at the airport, and it exists in its own timeline, outside of the timeline. It's not affecting the main thing, so
Do
I'm
you
looking forward.
have sorry to interrupt. Do you
Yeah,
have a reader magnet? Like, I think we talked a little bit about this last time where you've got like the thing that gets people to sign up for your mailing list when they haven't heard of you. And then there's also the one that they finish reading a book and think, wow, that's awesome. Let me sign up for the mailing list. And that those could be, two different things, but often aren't. Sometimes they're the
so
same. You know what I mean? Do you have one of those? Because this sounds like a great um after they've read one of the books with Melville,
right.
like this could be a free novella novel, for the exclusively for the mailing list. They can't get it anywhere else.
I've that's a great question, and on my list of sort of autumn and winter
Mm-hmm.
series, I think there's a recalibration coming for my series. It's like I've got,
Mm.
I had a book of, I have like a book of short stories as kind of book one in a series, and book two. Like I need to go in and just, for the sake of Amazon, recalibrate the series so that book one starts with the sheriff that you're gonna follow throughout. That's traditional. I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of other associated content
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not. I have like multiple short stories out there, multiple novellas out there, multiple. I have a lot of things. So I think the answer to that question is yes, but I don't have things positioned quite like that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think after I put out, so there's Chasing Shadows, and now I've got the next one, which I'm not really settled on the title yet. I might break the whole Shadows. I might just abandon that idea, titling everything with Shadows. Once that's out, or at least up for pre-order, I need to go in and like just recalibrate. So Yeah.
Because
And
then
this
you'll
book
have
would,
a 3-box set, because you'll have permanent shadows, chasing shadows, and funeral shadows. And then you can 1 through 3 box set that.
right.
And then at that
And
time,
then,
after you take the 0 books out, the books of witness, and
yeah,
retitle the series, go in and retitle it so that the series title is on there and that the book number is off, or
right.
change it to like books 4 and 5 or something like that.
What I wish Amazon did was let you do like a point 0.5 book. Like, so
Hmm.
you have 1.5, 2,
Yeah, I've
2.5.
seen that before on some places, but
Yeah.
I don't know
It,
which stores
good,
let you do that.
Goodreads, like in Goodreads, you can list something as point 0.5. You'll
Hmm.
see books that are like that, but I mean, Goodreads is secondary, although it probably should be primary because I mean, it is a social media site for books.
And it's
You
linked
got to
to
be there.
Amazon.
Right. But people primarily like encouraging people to go to Goodreads, I guess is what I'm thinking. I always
Hmm.
encourage people to just go to Amazon and review, but yeah. So I have a little series recalibration to do, and I'm kind
Okay.
of looking forward to it because there's just a lot of associated content. There's like a novel that I've out on Amazon that's I've never really done anything with,
Okay.
um,
So,
which is like a prehistory of Canyon County. It's like settlement days. It's old West stuff,
oh,
right?
fun.
It's out there, but I haven't done anything with it. So yeah, welcome to my winter project.
I have to, like, this is going to be like vague booking, but I have to ask this question. No one else is going to know what this means, but years ago, I edited a book for you, and it's in the Strange Air Mystery series. I loved it so, 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 so much, and I have yet to see it. Where is it? Why is it not out? Is it just too far into the chronology, or is it a side thing?
Because it now ultimately ends up being a side thing. The way I had first in thought of this series was every book would just depict a different part of a different person's encounter, like
Mm-hmm.
and having Sheriff Melville as sort of the secondary character and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't. That was my original vision. That book was called Mask of Tomorrow. It is done. It is. There's a file in my file that says, ready to go. It's ready to publish. But I don't. So this is where I'm
The
again part of that.
calibration, yeah.
Like I have 2 books that are not actually. There's a third one that I that are Canyon County mysteries that don't really involve the main character. Just how to use those is where I'm.
What if I mean, this is probably not great advice marketing wise, but what if you treated it as a second series instead of Strange Air Mysteries, it's Canyon County stories.
I
And then
thought
you would
about that.
have 2 series that were actually still linked.
I
And they
thought
would
about
be
doing like
great crossover reads, I think.
I. It's funny you say that. I had thought of doing like a secondary series and just calling it like Canyon County, like whatever the zip code is, sort of like Beverly Hills
Yeah,
90210.
yeah.
I was going to do that zip code thing. I thought that would be funny. Um, I haven't. Yeah, I'm
All right,
that I
so
have
some things
not.
to think about then. Yeah.
These are yeah. These are the
This is
things
the
I
kind
think
of
about.
stuff that gets me all like, I'm
I
super
know it
excited
does.
about stuff.
This is what I talk to my dog to when I'm on a walk. If I'm not listening to something, I'll say, "What do I do with like, what do I do with?" The other book is called "The Incident at Tallow Creek." It's a great western. I had one person read it. They're like, "This is a weird, cool western. I love it." I just don't know how to market it, and that's kind of like an issue. And I think we could. I'm looking for this class. I'm looking for this book. It's like this advice or this podcast. I don't, but it's how do you like we're writing organically, right? I'm writing the books that I want to write, and then there's this whole idea of like, well, I have to also sell them, and I don't think that those 2 things should be untied. But do we tie too tightly the idea of like writing the books that will sell, and how do we balance out like I'm going to write books in a series because that will get me sell through, but I also want to write books that just exist and can I should feel okay to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the standard advice for new writers that don't have a backlist is to write in a series and stick with that series / genre for, 4 or 5 books, and then veer off and do something else if you're going to switch genres, especially. But I think that if you've got, yeah, I mean, that's the standard good quote unquote advice, but I personally believe in the freedom to write whatever you want.
Right.
And as an indie author, that is like the awesome part of, I mean, that's the number one benefit is you get to do whatever you want. You are the CEO of your business. You make all the decisions. So,
And I think that's why, like you said, the 3 books, and I've articulated this, multiple times to myself and to other people who've asked, and that is, I need to get through those first 3 books, start playing with those in the practical Amazon sense, and then decide how else to treat things. Because one would hope that if someone's reading your series, they like you, they're following you on Amazon, they'll find there's other books. And if, as long as you're marketing those books correctly and not throwing people for a loop, yeah, they'll read your other mystery, they'll read your other book, and that's the hope.
yeah.
So,
And in your branding, I think that you can, yeah, that's all part of that recalibration,
yeah.
Planning session, I guess, would be, do you want to brand the Canyon County zip code books with the same like looking cover so that they look kind of the same as the Strange Air mystery because they are in that world? Or yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of questions there.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot. So
there's a lot. Any other wins you want to talk about before we move on to other stuff?
It's been every day of summer vacation is a parenting win. I'll just say that. Every day that you can kind of get up and be
there for your kid.
Feel whole and be there for a kid is a win in the summer. So yeah. Beating the heat. I've done that. Little things, I guess, at this point.
So let's go with some of the big things we talked about last time. The SOP. Did you write an SOP for yourself?
I wrote 4 things that when I wrote them, I felt like these are, when you give it a standard operating procedure and an acronym, it feels like it needs to be written on like company letterhead, signed off by the CEO. It's actually just a document in my Google Drive that just says these are 4 things that I'm going to do. One of them was it told me these are the times that I'm answering calls, and I made that. I wrote those times down, times that I will answer calls and emails. And actually, I've onboarded a new client in the last 2 weeks, and I gave him those times and said, "Look, these are the times these are the times I'm available." I said, "Feel free to contact me whenever. Just understand these are the times I'm going to respond." And it was great because he, as a business owner, came back and said, "Well, okay, well, I run a daycare, and then these are the times that I'm not going to be available, and these are the times that I will." So I feel like if you're working with, again, this is like if you get the right people into your business, they will meet your professional with professional. That was great. I also created a standard response email. My site gets a lot of blank. People open up the get a quote from me page. But they don't leave anything. And so I had now created just like a standard, hey, you saw that you came by, but you didn't leave any information. Those are pretty, surely those are spam, but you have to respond to them because you never know. People could be, not good with technology, and that's just why that ended up that way. So I created one of those. I created an automatic social media post on my blogs for my writer site so that I didn't have to do that anymore. And I scheduled every Sunday I'm going to post a blog, because what I do is I end up writing a bunch of blogs and then I just forget to I put all the energy into the blog into writing like 5 the content for 5 and then I don't post them. So I've now made it so that Sunday night I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna post the blog, and I'm gonna automatically do those through social media,
Okay.
distribute those through social media. And what was the last thing? I'm trying to do this without looking at it. Oh, and I actually like put my I put my contact information. I put the hours in that contact information so that that would be, you know, hours of operation. And I updated that on Google Business too, so that just in case that comes in. But no, that's
Nice.
not a groundbreaking. So I guess I only did 3
Totally
things.
is. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. I think that's a giant win. Congratulations, because that was really hanging you up. That
Oh,
was causing so much internal stress when you were working, and to
yeah,
just make those simple decisions yourself, like these are when my working hours are. You can always go off and do more, but
right,
your clients won't expect that you will be available 24/7. And I
right.
think that is the important bit of all of this, is that you've made a stand, you've been assertive and said, this is when I'm available to you, and this is how you can reach me. So
Right.
yay,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. I also started, the next thing will be just to look forward probably tomorrow afternoon. Like I've always had rates and I've always had it in my head.
Hmm.
I'm going to start like just not publishing out exterior, because people will not inquire if they see published rates. And that's what I've heard at least. So I'm going to just do intern, like these are the rates. This is what I'm charging for everything. And so
Okay.
that I don't guess what my rates are, but sometimes I'll get a client and say, oh, well, I can give this one a break or something. So I'm going to internally publish rates so that I don't feel like I'm winging rates like I feel like sometimes.
I'm going to push back on that just a teeny bit.
Ooh.
I don't reach out to anyone that doesn't list their rates. Never, ever, ever. And that includes everything. Like if a house is listed for sale and there's no price, I'm not going to inquire, because obviously if there's no price, it's way out of my price range. And that's kind of
Hmm,
the vibe I get from any product or service that's listed online. If there's no price, I'm just skipping it. That's
interesting.
that's me as a consumer though, that might be, I don't think I'm the only person like that, but I'm just putting that out there. I still want you to write your rate sheet, but maybe there is a way that you can indicate, you know,
Well, here,
ballpark or something, you know what I mean?
if anybody's looking at watching this on video, I'm writing something down. And
Mhm.
so I have an SEO person that I'm going to ask that question. And
Okay.
that was a beginning of a standard operating. I'm not going to languish in question land anymore. I'm just going to ask somebody. Like I'm paying this person. I'm just going to use her for what she's for. So I'm going to ask her
Nice.
about the wisdom of publishing rates.
Okay. Right
And
on. Excelente. Okay. So what about those notebooks? You were kind of worried about looking in the notebooks. Do you have a series Bible on your computer yet? You
I
said
have
started to, but like what was the interim? Like
so yeah, I
do you know
have
what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Okay.
I have a series document on I have a series document. Let's start there. And it lists what I have listed there are there's a timeline of events, so that, like, for example, the events of one book take place during these months, and um, short stories. Like, it's just so I don't ever misreference things. I've got all the names of characters that I've used. I have a methodology for picking character names. I have locations. Um, like if I name a road, um, I will put that down, like this road, and this is where this person lives, and this is so. I haven't gotten any further than that on the document. However, I have, if you're looking at this on YouTube, there's a room over there where I keep all my files, and I've started to go through those files and just pull out all the old juvenilia, old stuff. And so part of a bigger process is there's a lot of stuff that early iterations of this series or stories in this series that are boxed up in there. And I'm
Hmm.
going through and I'm just being very decisive about, like, looking at a file. that contains a short story and saying, I'm going to keep this because I could use this story or not.
Hmm.
So the big monster in this is the file cabinet, and because that file cabinet hasn't been touched. It's got all of the juvenilia in it. It's got all of the old stuff. I used to keep a file for every story I wrote, and there's probably 100 of them in there, 200 of them. And these are just like anytime I started something, I've, folded it up and just folded it up. I, clip it, put it in the folder, and it would be there. So I'm going through that as the beginning. And I think then once that happens, I'll probably spend a rainy day in here sifting through, like, these are the things I'm going to use. These are the things I'm not. Here's how I could potentially use it, and start organizing it. So yeah, I decided on this one just to start big, and give myself the time to actually encapsulate everything in this process. So I'm going to, whittle down the old files and gather the stories. There's actually 2 other books in there that I know that I started in this series, at least plotted out, that I could.
So wait, what are you going to be doing with this when you go through the filing cabinet and you find all these old stories? Are you going to be adding that to the series Bible, or are you going to be, is this a separate task where you're going to
It's sort
come
of a
up with an
separate
idea
task.
list?
It's sort of a separate task. Like, I think, being kind of intimidated by the amount of stuff that I've created, I've just decided to, like, be okay with throwing some stuff out, and
Mhm.
then committing to what I'm keeping. So if I may end up with, like, to adding more to this, and then from there, like, to me, the series Bible is what you've established already.
Mhm.
So I have that. What I have a hard time in my head is, my series Bible right now is, this is what you've published. These are the things that are out there. And
Mhm.
I, like, reference in each thing, this is where this character appears. And I have a hard time separating the commitment, like the writer commitment of, it's published, you've committed to it this much, and you started writing it, you committed to that this much, right? So I have to sort of create 2 files. One that's like,
Mhm.
this is what's been published, and this is what you still have to work with, so that because I think those things cross over in my head,
Okay. Because they're the same series.
because they're the same series, and they kind of just live in that world in my imagination.
So
So
maybe maybe creating, well, kind of like an idea Bible, or, like, so it matches,
yeah,
because yeah, you've told me you come up with strange air mystery ideas. Oh,
all
that'd
the
make a
time.
great book. Or, oh, that, I need to, even if it's within the novel you're writing too, like, oh, I want to make sure that I make the character do this.
Right,
Where do you put, this was something we talked about last time, like,
right.
where are you putting that before you can get to your computer to log it?
So I have 2 notebooks, one that goes with me out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and I have one that sits with me at my desk. And so I have each of these. So this is for ideas in strange air.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, they're everybody's, every time I make a new entry, I put a little tab on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I write, I give each thing a heading, like, this is strange air story idea, search party. Like, I had an idea for
Mm-hmm.
like, when Melville and the team go out on looking for a missing person. So I can just go through this. So there's many of these. I haven't done this to all of them. So I think once I get together everything, I'm just going to start tabbing things, because some of these are full novel ideas or short story ideas, and others are just like scenes, subplots,
So are you
characters.
comfortable with that being an analog filing system, or do you want a document on your hard drive that has all those things too? All those
I want
tabbed
the
ideas?
I am definitely comfortable with this being analog, because I think most of my ideation, imagination stuff comes out. I'll be sitting at the bar with the notebook, I'll get the idea, I'll be sitting here, I'll get the idea. I feel like when I type something in the computer, it's permanent. When I write something, like, in a notebook, it's still an idea that I can play with. I can still go back in there and look at it and say, oh, this isn't fully formed. I still have room to work. So I
Even
need this to be
if
analog.
even if the digital file just says ideas, like, that doesn't give you
It's
permission to, like, not get back
no,
to them, or
No, it's
Okay.
weird. I definitely feel like
How are
once I
you
type.
filing these notebooks with ideas though? That was the challenge with last time we talked. You were like, I've got all those things. I don't know what to do with them. I'm afraid to open it up. So like,
Well,
what
I
did you
moved.
do
Okay,
about
so
that?
I bought. So they're in a box. That box, I've got. There's a I call it a coffin. It's this, like, I joked about it with Elijah when we were at the office supply store. It's like this file box. It's like long and it's got the little hangers. And so my plan is, once I get everything in the idea, because I'm still going through old files, get
Hmm.
those ideas together, whittle those things down. I'm going to create a big coffin file of strange air stuff, and I'll go through and tab everything. And once I think it's all in one digestible place with delineated markings for different things, I'll be comfortable, because what I really want is something I can just sit back on a rainy day, turn on the music, and just like, oh, okay, I had this idea. I can get unstuck on what I'm working on with this thing.
Awesome.
Um,
Perfect.
or I'm looking for a short story idea for something. Um, so yeah, I need to, because I have this need to be analog. I'm analog in like four places right now, so I need to get analog in one place.
All right.
That's the big project, and there's a
Analog
lot
in
in
one
there,
place. The
right?
analog idea coffin.
Yeah, Elijah loves it. Elijah thinks it's funny when I say that.
Awesome.
The
All
coffin
right.
box.
So another thing that we talked about last time was permission to play in the sandbox.
Mhm.
So, did you create any sort of like sandbox time, education, not education, but like permission to play with new ideas in your routine? Just like, either an hour a day or like, one morning a week, or did you do any of
Yes,
that? Okay.
yes. It doesn't feel like it's fulfilling the need, but it's a step in the right direction. So Wednesdays are my work for client days. So today, as soon as we're done, I'll be working on client work. I have given myself the hour after we're done with our podcast to play around with the ads, to um, do some, like, just do any, like, that was my problem, right? I've got all this information and I don't know how to implement it. And so I gave myself a budget with Amazon ads. I gave myself just permission to go out and waste $50 a month on figuring out how to make Amazon ads work. And just actually, like, had to say, like, you don't have to be good at this morning. Like, you just do this.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. The first couple of weeks were, or the first week, I guess, last week. Yeah, last week was rough. I mean, I didn't like sitting here doing those. I actually actively disliked sitting here doing it, but it didn't feel good in the doing, but it felt good in the after.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where I thought, okay, like, I just broke a lot of things. I didn't do something right. Somebody standing over my shoulder would be laughing at what I did. However, it's just taking a step, and
It
that's
is.
that's that's that.
And you did
Um,
that last week, you said?
I did that last week, and then what it did, actually, this was kind of the interesting, perhaps expected but unintended result was, so Thursday afternoon is my afternoon to, like, kind of, to do some mastermind stuff, like get some things together, plan my weeks, plan my months. Well, that was the week, like, last Thursday I sat down and I just I did a bunch of reading. I started reading a book series, um, and a self-publishing book series about advertising, um, because I had the need, because I just fumbled around for a day, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to keep doing that. So it made the, like, okay, this, I need to now commit this. The idea of committing the time to learning how to do something had a real it had a real purpose, right? Like, I had something to work with. What happens a lot for me is, like, I resist learning new things in this business because I haven't played with it yet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all abstract. And so sitting there reading, you're like, okay, I guess, here's how you quality check an ad. Well, I've never even run one, so what is that? It becomes abstract. So now I have
Right.
something concrete to work with, I guess.
All right. So after we hang up today, you are going to spend another hour playing the sandbox, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna mess around with some
Just
ads.
no one's gonna look over your shoulder. Fumble
No,
time.
no, it's a little bit
Awesome.
of bumbling.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, if anybody's watching on YouTube, I just made the cringy look. It's hard. It's so
Of course
hard
it's
because
hard.
it almost feels like you go into business because you know you're good at something and can do something professionally,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard to sit there and say, okay, I don't, but I have to be bad at something to get good at it so I can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I, to a slightly tangential, you know, association for me is I have a lot of clients that I've worked with who are, I've written a lot of histories for people who've run businesses, like this is for their website or for their little book they put out. And almost every one of them did something like this. Like, oh, we started fabricating this and started doing this. And then while we were doing that really well, we learned how to do this, and then we introduced that. So it's a part of building anything is not building something well for a little while, I guess. So those ads, man, I spent like $40, and I had to laugh like, oh God, $40, and I think I sold 6 books out of that, so I made roughly $1.25. So not the best return on investment
Yeah,
ever,
but still you made a
but
profit the very first ad that you ever
yeah,
made. That's
I made something.
that's awesome. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing, the other unintended result was that I just don't. There's a lot of Facebook groups. I'm not going to name them because people probably know what they are already. But like, there's a lot of that stuff that's people who are just showing off. And I'm not saying showing off in like necessarily a negative way. It's people who are really good at doing these things that I'm bad at, and that's something to stay for me. I just to stay away from. I can't sit there and read those posts about, well, I ran this ad for a week and I made $1,000 off a $200 ad investment. Like that doesn't help right now.
Not
What
right
helps
now.
is it's not educational. It's like
Mhm.
FOMO. It's like looking at other people's vacation photos. It
Mhm.
just doesn't help.
Mhm.
Um, so it's also helping me sort of sort out the like what is good information, what is not in this world, because there's a lot of information.
Nice. Well, I think you had tremendous wins and you got so much stuff accomplished and you must feel great.
I do. I actually like, especially getting through the archives and things, and realizing that in the next couple of months I will have everything in a place. I'll have it where I want it. It'll feel. One of the hardest things for me as a writer is. I understand that we're all going to write stories that don't get published. It's probably, and I think if you're a great writer, there's a ratio there that's probably 10-1 or something. You're just going to
Mhm.
write things that nobody ever
Mhm.
sees. I'm comfortable with that. I'm just, for me, not comfortable with the fact that there's that much, and I know it's good stuff. So this is helping me get over just some like, being good to myself creatively, and being good to my creative self, and treating that old work as valuable,
Mhm.
and I also think, and this may seem a little tangential, I guess, but you know all that work was created in my life, right? And so like I asked family to hold, like, give me the space to write this. And I asked, I would write instead of hanging out with friends. These are all things that I made sacrifices for, and I asked people to make sacrifices for. And the fact that it's just sitting there in a box, isn't, to me, it's like, isn't true to that sacrifice, isn't true to the deal I made with the people in my world. So it feels really good to go back into it and say, okay, I'm going to give this what it deserves, because
Yeah.
people gave me the space and time to do it.
And I think this fall, when you do your series recalibration, you'll find homes for those that old work. You'll know what to do
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, I will know what to do with it. It'll have a home, and I think that book that you read that you liked will probably be out there
Yay!
somewhere.
I love that. That
And
was
it's
such
already
a
edited too. It's already edited. Like, it's ready to go. That's what's that one. You brought that up about a month ago, and it sort of stuck with me for that day. Like,
I
yeah,
loved
like,
that book. That was
it
my
is,
first introduction to the Strange Air Mysteries.
yeah, it's a good book.
I really
I
liked it.
really like it. I may read it now and say, oh gosh, like that road isn't there. That road is I called that road something else, or that, yeah.
Well,
But
yeah, you might need to go through for continuity or something, do a
Yeah.
continuity pass with your series Bible. But all
And
right,
mint.
so
Mint.
coming up then, you will
Ooh.
be creating your analog idea coffin.
Yeah.
You will play in the sandbox every week,
Right.
and you do that series calibration in the
Yeah.
coming months. So
And keep developing that standard operating procedure. Like
yeah.
it's
Do you have
something
a
that, like,
contract? Do you have a contract that you have your clients sign?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
a
So
standard
yeah,
non-disclosure and contract.
that can
Um,
be part of the package. When you start working with a client, you can just send them, that file, the SOP, I guess you can call it something different, like terms and conditions or
is that what people do in these arrangements? Do people send the standard operating procedure to a client? Is that the
I
ultimate?
think that that is the most professional way to do it, personally, because if you're entering a long-term relationship with a client, it's best to get all of the boundaries and parameters set up first. And especially if you personally, Eric, are a ghostwriter that continues to communicate with clients and you do it on a regular basis and you're always checking in with them and sharing with, your updates or whatever. But not all ghostwriters are like that. And so, or even editors, I try to check in. I I don't check in as much as I think clients want me to. And so I
Right,
think any communication that you have with a client, potential or realized, is going to be beneficial to your professional relationship.
right, right.
So the
That's the goal,
more
is to have returning
information you
clients.
send, I think the better. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so happy that we're working together. This is my welcome packet, and then just have like the welcome letter, the contract,
No,
what it's going to be
that's
like to work with you, and the timeline and whatever, what to expect.
right. I have that blog on my site. Like, I should probably just formalize that in something I send to people.
Yeah. All right.
Hmm. This was great. What are we
Awesome.
talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to be talking about finding the core of your memoir.
Oh my gosh.
I think we both will have a lot to say about that, since you ghostwrite memoirs and I personally write my own memoirs and teach other people how to write memoirs. So I think
It'll
that'll be
be
a cool topic.
right, especially timely considering where I am with a current memoir for someone. Yeah, this will be
Oh,
a good
neat.
topic. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, happy writing. Thanks for talking with me this week. And go forth and analog coffin your ideas. I
Thank
love
you so
that
much.
visual. And an analog coffin. That's a conversation starter.
Right there. Right there.
All right. See you
See you
next
next
time.
week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.